Sometimes I wonder why I did such a terrible thing. Perhaps it's because I came from another planet, a foreign dimension, and accidentally fell to Earth like a shattered meteorite. My mother came by and pitied me. But she didn't know that I came from the land of cannibals, and I was the only one of that species surviving on this planet. Hello, it's me again, and today we'll explore the story of the crazy and twisted life of Issei Sagawa, a savage cannibal, and the featherlight ending he received. Issei Sagawa was born on April 26, 1949, in Kobe, Japan. From birth, he was diagnosed with a weak and frail body. He grew up in a very ordinary family, raised in the boundless love of his parents. A family with fairly good conditions, receiving the best education. The siblings got along well, but these blessings still couldn't suppress the twisted thoughts in Issei's mind. Issei confessed that he began to be attracted to the thighs of his male classmates when he was just in first grade, an age still very early for sexuality. At that time, it was still a taboo subject, causing Issei to feel disgusted with himself yet attracted to these new sensations. Plans urging him to eat human flesh, especially women's flesh, gradually appeared. Initially, these thoughts made Issei terrified and almost nauseous, but the excitement they brought haunted him. Issei had a strange fascination with beautiful, tall foreign women, completely opposite to him. This, combined with Issei's bizarre psychology, was the motivation for him to commit his first crime. In his youth, while living in Tokyo, Issei was attracted to a foreign woman. I was enchanted by her snow-white thighs, Issei confessed. He then stalked the innocent woman, snuck into her room and planned to knock her out with an umbrella, then dissect her body with a kitchen knife. Fortunately, the victim woke up in time and screamed, causing Issei to be caught. He was convicted of attempted rape, but no one realized his true intentions. The most horrifying tragedy in the history of crime in France and Japan began when Issei Sagawa turned 28. Issei left Tokyo to study at a university in Paris. At this point, the desire to eat human flesh had become a command in Issei's head, more than just a simple wish. And when all the conditions were met, I'm sure you and I can all guess what was about to happen. First, I want you to know a little about Renée Hartevelt, a Dutch student studying at the same school as Issei. She possessed a beauty that impressed Issei to the point of obsession. He constantly drew her in his sketches, secretly waiting for the opportunity to satisfy himself to come. Below are Sagawa's confessions. I was truly horrified by what had gone through his mind. I was stunned. She was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. She was tall, blonde, with mesmerizing white skin. I invited her to my house to enjoy a Japanese-style dinner. She agreed. After the meal, I asked her to read a poem in German. I couldn't take my eyes off her. I wanted to eat her. If I did that, she would be mine forever. There would be no escape from this craving. Issei could not restrain the devil in his heart. Or perhaps he was the devil himself. He didn't even try to hide it. Issei lured Renée to his house, hit her on the head when she was distracted and dizzy from whiskey. Blood gushed out as Renée collapsed onto the table, then fell along with the chair. Blood soaked deeply into the floor. Issei tried to stop the bleeding with a towel. He stripped Renée's clothes off and began his disgusting actions. I must really tell you that the actions of the monster Issei Sagawa are too offensive and disgusting. This will be my final warning to you because I will describe in detail Issei's process of committing the crime. Are you ready? I had been waiting for this day for a very long time. He confessed in an interrogation. He started with the buttocks because Issei thought this was the best part, especially the right side, because the left side would be closer to the heart, and he was afraid of blood. A very bizarre reasoning. He tried to tear the flesh with his teeth, only to quickly realize it was impossible. Issei hurriedly went to buy a dissecting knife and necessary tools, and he began to perform savage acts on the victim's body. A yellow liquid began to flow out, and the red flesh shimmered underneath, and he began to look into the lifeless eyes of the corpse and said, "You taste so good." He then repeated the act over and over again. He even took photos of the mutilated corpse, the bite marks, the cuts, and performed the act. He hugged the corpse tightly, using all his strength, terrified as if Renée was still alive. Then he kissed the cold lips, confessing his feelings like a young boy. Then he acted like a sick madman again. Issei dragged the corpse to the bathroom, cut the flesh from the side, and enjoyed it deliciously like a gourmet meal. Renee's voice recordings were played at the same time. That night, Issei slept with the corpse. The next morning, he began the process of mutilation to dispose of and gradually consume the body. He started by turning off the lights. Suddenly, Issei wanted to know the taste of human calf. He folded the severed leg neatly, then used his teeth to taste it little by little. After that, Issei began to choose random parts to start with. The toes still retained her scent. Then came the flesh of the armpit. He had always been curious about its taste. He tasted each piece of meat, commenting that it tasted like chicken thigh. Then the slender fingers that excited him. He had used that arm to satisfy himself. He tried to taste the fingers but couldn't. Then he gazed at the face, giving himself the right to lick the victim's eyes and lips. His favorite parts of meat were kept in the refrigerator. The dissection became increasingly horrific. He opened her mouth and tried to taste it. Next came the eyes. He witnessed a tear rolling down his arm. Renee's face was now almost completely destroyed. The white skull had begun to show clearly. Issei suddenly had an idea. He scraped the flesh off the body, put it on a plate, then opened the abdomen. He looked at the tangled internal organs that had been disturbed by him, sad that if she were alive, Renee would have a baby in this abdominal cavity. Finally, he tasted himself. Only then did he realize he had become a real cannibal, but he didn't care at all. He put the corpse into 2 suitcases, called a taxi to the Bois de Boulogne Park. When he arrived at the park, he was overwhelmed by the sunset scenery and lay down by the lake. It was as if my life had color for the first time. This was also where people discovered the bodies, and the horrific crime was gradually uncovered. Issei was arrested 4 days after committing the crime. He was examined by 3 psychiatric experts. Although he was concluded to have mental issues and not to stand trial due to strong public pressure in France, Issei was deported back to Japan. In his home country, he was diagnosed as psychologically normal, with only a slight personality issue, and was released on bail. In short, Issei was not sentenced at all for his savage actions. In Japan, Issei had to endure a period of unemployment, but then he continuously begged for money, even stole money from his father and younger brother to satisfy his indulgences with beautiful white women. As you might guess, Issei still retained his obsession with foreign women. In middle age, Issei was commissioned by some publishers to write books. He published 20 autobiographical novels detailing his crime process. One of them even won a prestigious literary award in 1982. Despite his crimes, Issei still maintained his fame and frequently answered interviews both domestically and internationally. In an interview conducted by the YouTube channel Vice in 2012, Issei admitted, "I don't know who I am. I also don't know what life means." Recently, besides the desire to eat human flesh, I crave to be killed. I want to die in pain, being gradually eaten while still alive. Perhaps you still have a small hope that in his final moments, Issei had to pay for what he had done, pay for his savage actions. No, he died at the age of 73 in 2022, and his funeral was held discreetly. The video ends here. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Now, goodbye and see you next time.